Hey, it's Thursday. It's 5 o'clock. It's time for Tony and Chelsea Live.
Wow, that
Mic
was
check,
really
mic
like
check.
that. Thank you for that, Tony. Today we're going to be reviewing your street photos with Jonathan Higbee. He has amazing photos. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so good. So happy to be here with you guys. I've been watching you forever. You keep my gear acquisition syndrome in check. So it's nice to be able to thank you finally for saving me some money here and there.
You're
Okay, good.
welcome. And you kind of get mine out of check because I go on Instagram and look at your photos and I'm like, oh,
I'm sorry.
I want some street photography gear here.
Thank you.
Now is the time to submit, everyone. So go to sdp.io/submit. Submit your photos if you have not already done so, and we'll be reviewing them shortly. Sam,
Street photography.
we got to say hi to Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Hello, hello.
Sam is here. She's
What's up,
looking
everybody?
beautiful. Her dog is talking to us as well, and she's got a hot date tonight.
I do. Sorry, YouTube.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people in the comments, I think.
I wanted to show people a few of Jonathan's photos because they just like blow me away. I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan.
Do it.
This has got to be one of my
Wow.
favorite street photos of all time.
What? That's
It's
a bold
amazing.
statement, Tony. Thank you.
How is it that his camera color almost perfectly matches the color of the background?
I know. It's a miracle, basically. A lot of people say I staged it, which it's hard to believe that happened, but it happened. And I think I probably scared off everyone in Times Square with all the squealing and screaming I was doing when it opened up before my eyes.
I
So
bet.
So you have an entire section on your website. Is it called? It's like coincidences or something. What is it called?
yeah, that's it. Coincidences. It's this project, which you're seeing right here. These coincidences or juxtapositions found around New York. More of this kind of stuff. It's been going on for about 5 years. I've done shows with it. I have a book coming out next year. It's,
awesome.
It's my baby.
You have. I love those. I think I may have put another one in here. You had one with a guy with white hair, and then the clouds in the background look like they're coming out of it. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that
how
one too.
I've been feeling lately. So a lot of these reflect and illustrate my mood, and especially the guy with the smoke coming out of his head.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you can relate to that.
This one's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I just
Do
want
you know where
to show-
that is?
Is that at the Oculus?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great space.
Have you guys been there?
I want to.
I don't
because
think we've been there.
I
We've been in New York so
love-
many times, but we never managed to
I
make it over
know.
there.
And the photos there.
Kind of overshot, but
It is.
it's amazing for shooting the.
But you got a fresh take.
Thank you.
And I love the colors here.
Thank you.
Amazing.
One of my favorites. I
Yeah.
love it. The Leica Q. Oh no, see, my gas is already coming out.
Uh-oh.
The
It's happening.
colors that this camera produces are just incredible.
So I just wanted to share that with everyone because I know that they're just going to love your photos. Follow Jonathan on Instagram. What is your handle?
Alive is the city.
Yes. Okay, we
Awesome.
popped it up on the
Justin's
screen
got it on
right
the
there.
We should thank our sponsor, Squarespace.
Yes. If you need your very own beautiful portfolio, go to squarespace.com and make your next move with Squarespace. They have an all-in-one platform, amazing 24/7 customer support. If you can drag and drop, you can make your own Squarespace website. It's just that easy. To start your free trial today at squarespace.com/Tony and use the coupon code Tony to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace.
Yep, and if you have a Squarespace portfolio, head to sdp.io/link and you can send it in and we'll take a look at it live during the show in just a few
Before
minutes.
we look at people's photos, I just want to say next week is fashion with Benjamin Kanarick. And he shoots Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, you name it. He's got really beautiful photos, and he's going to be reviewing yours and giving tips.
I know, right? The dude's like an A-list photographer. His
I
work is
don't-
absolutely amazing. I don't know what he's doing on our show.
He is going to be sharing his knowledge, just like Jonathan. We're lucky.
Yeah.
All right.
He blows my mind. Congratulations on. He's gonna have a tough act to follow, but I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're setting the bar pretty high. All right, let's take a look at some street photos. This one, I like it.
I dig it. I like the repetition thing in street photography, especially in New York. And you've definitely got the repetitive nature here. It keeps the eye traveling throughout the frame. It's good, and I think the tones are good too.
Yeah, there's this leading line down here. Maybe it would have been, oh, it's at F25.
That's an interesting.
Micro Four Thirds though, so like F5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's why there's, the depth of field is pretty deep. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, it's a little busy for me.
And this next shot really contrasts that, right? Like I love this sort of simple geometry.
This is a great one to follow the first one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, again, the leading lines and the composition here, the geometry, I love it. And the subject in motion on their bicycle, it reminds me of Henri Cartier-Bresson.
Yes,
very
me
great.
too.
I
Yeah,
thought the same thing.
I like it too. And you know what? I was wondering about the motion of the subject, and then I thought, no, if they were completely frozen, I think it would be too much because everything else is so geometric and hard looking. It's a great contrast.
It adds good contrast to
It
the
does.
scene. Well done.
Great job, Magnus.
Magnus, you did it.
Yeah, Magnus.
What are these kids up to?
Staring in the mirror. It looks like a mirror reflection.
It does.
Yeah, that's kind of what I liked about it. I think there might be a little too much in the frame. Like there's a little
I agree. I get more of a documentary vibe than a street vibe, and I don't even know if that did I just make that up in my head? I don't know if that even means anything, but I get more of a reportage vibe than a street vibe, but that might not matter. I agree with Tony that there is a bit much in the frame. It took me a second for my eyes to settle on what the photographer wanted me to see.
Yeah. But I like the moment, but it could have been captured maybe a bit more clearly, if that makes sense.
Well, let me ask you, Jonathan, how do you cope with that? Because street photography, obviously the backgrounds can be really complex. Like in this situation, what might you have done to simplify the composition or tell a more powerful story?
Well, especially in New York, Tony, there are people everywhere, cars everywhere, just so much. It's really hard to isolate subjects and make your story clear. And today, when people are just scrolling through photographs, if it's too busy, they're just going to keep scrolling. So you want to keep it clear and kind of minimal. For this one, I probably would have adjusted my position. I probably would have gone to the camera left. It looks like there's a building to the back and right in the midground, and I probably would have tried to put the kids in front of that somehow. I think it might have helped distinguish them from the rest of the frame.
Right, because this background here is very busy.
Exactly. Right. Or use what kind of lens is this? 55 millimeter, or use a longer lens maybe.
Oh, to blur the background a little or isolate the subject some?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I like those ideas, Jonathan. Oh.
That's my kind of stuff.
That kind of reminds me of your coincidences. Like he's about to be speared here.
What a bad coincidence, man.
I know. I feel sorry for him.
I would have preferred the guy to be a little closer to the spear because as it stands, the art that he's directly in front of kind of distracts a little bit from the moment that the photographer was going for. So I would have loved it if he was just a few steps back earlier in the scene. But I think it works fine as it is, and maybe cropped in a little more. I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to do that too.
Exactly.
Well, I think what I would suggest is, you have this cool spot. Other people are going to walk past, just like hang out, shoot continuous and try to get one. I think he's a good subject because his outfit is so plain, but you can just spend more time there, right? Is that what you do? Like, how long do you spend at a spot?
Work the scene is the name of the game, especially in this kind of. I've spent up to 4 months. 4 months is the longest.
Okay, I thought you were going to say like hours.
Oh no! Oh, I wish. That's rare. Actually, the photo I just shared today on Instagram is the one that it took me 4 months to get. So that's great advice. Stay there and shoot. Even if you think you got it, keep shooting it because you never know. You might get something a little more interesting than just a person walking in front of the scene. You never know. So work the scene. That's really great advice.
Yeah. And I want to just tease your Instagram again. He just put up a picture that took him 4 months to capture. Go there and follow him and support him. That's a working photographer right there.
Support me. My mom will be very happy and love you.
At first I didn't love this photo, but then I caught the happy hour reflected in her kind of sad face.
Oh.
The juxtaposition. You're right. You're right. The joke. I don't usually like text in a photo, but I like the pun there, and I do like the abstractness of this shot. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's pretty good.
I enjoy it. I just brightened it up a little bit. I didn't think it was exposed for her face properly.
Mhm.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's a little better.
Oh,
Oh,
this is gorgeous.
Everybody likes this
This
one,
is
yeah.
messing with my mind, and
Uh-huh.
that's my favorite kind of thing to do to my mind.
I feel like these people are your fans because we don't get pictures like this.
Really?
Yeah, so I feel like this person is a fan of yours. Mick Wells.
Oh,
Reveal yourself, Mick. Maybe he'll say
that makes me
something.
very happy if that's the case, because I love it. Just the perspective here that distorts reality, and then the silhouette, of course, of the two living subjects. I just love it. The composition is fantastic. I can't think of anything to critique really, except for maybe the photographer couldn't have done anything about that pole sticking up in
Right.
front of the
Yeah.
subjects. There's nothing you could have done, and I like where they are placed, so I don't know if it's a big deal. I think this is great.
I think it's really great too. I don't have any criticism, critique.
Yeah.
Well,
We gave it
Jonathan, I know people are asking, what's your preferred gear for street photography?
Yay, we can talk gear finally. Leica Q is what I use most days. It's mostly always in my bag. I think it's the best street photography camera that I've ever had. So mostly Leica Q, but I also use a Fuji X100F. It's a little smaller and more pocketable, and I think the image quality is almost up to the Q. So those are my two main digs, and I've just been getting into the M system with an M10 and some of the lenses, because zone focusing is how I prefer to shoot, and
Yeah.
there's no zone focusing like on the M system. So yeah.
Okay, is part of what draws you to it just the Leica's traditional relationship with street photography, or is it just the technical merits of the camera system?
Oh, of course, there's that gravitational pull, definitely,
Yeah.
of the history and the reputation.
Yeah.
I can't ignore that. I do like it. I don't think that's the primary get. I really do think that the simplicity and focus on uh, making a camera that just disappears so you can be in the moment, I think they pull it off better than any other camera I've really used, which is ideal for street photography, not other genres. When I shoot other genres, I use different gear.
Yeah.
But for street photography, like melting away and letting me be just mindful and right there, that's the main reason that I go to their cameras most often.
Do you find also that people don't react to a camera of that size and form in the same way? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a big thing, because I hate confrontation. Well, I guess everyone does. Who likes confrontation? But yeah, I want it to disappear for the subjects too. Great idea.
Well, what's the worst confrontation you've ever had?
I got a video of it actually, and there's a website called the Photographer.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we know Chris.
Yeah, Chris, he shared this video, and I wrote a story about it. It was last May, so May of 2017. It was in Columbus Circle here in New York, and I was on the sidewalk photographing one of the main buildings in Columbus Circle. I think it's the mall building. But so I was on the public sidewalk photographing it. The light was so beautiful. It was just reflecting, great midtown sunny day, reflective light. And a security guard approached me and told me that I couldn't photograph the area because it was a national security risk. And I was as civil as I could be, but I told him that I don't think that's the case. Can be seen in public, and I'm going to stay right here and just shoot. I don't mean any harm. And anyway, it ended up being like 6 security guards and a manager trying to call the police on me. and calling me a terrorist basically for doing street photography in public. But luckily, I think they did call the police, and the police told them that I have every right to be there. So they dispersed, but it was pretty tense. So ever since then, confrontation, I try to take a break from or run away from.
No, made a good story for you.
Yeah, but how ridiculous. I mean, they actually called the police and tried to use those resources, and the police were like, why are you wasting our time?
Yeah, in fact, when it's happened before, I forgot who told me this. Someone else suggested if this happens, if someone says that you can't take pictures out here in public, tell them, suggest that they go ahead and call the police because you know you have the right to be there. And then I guess that throws them off if you agree that you want the police there. The police don't want to deal with that, and they know that. They know that we have the right to do that.
I was going to say, I've never had a problem with the police. I've only had problems with security guards. Security guards are always in my business.
Why is it always security guards?
They seem kind of power hungry. Not to stereotype all security guards, but man.
That's it. They want to flex those muscles while they can.
They got to flex it.
It is hilarious when you shut them down, though. You're like, you have no power here whatsoever. I don't have to do anything that you say.
Pretty cathartic. It is, especially when they tag up on you and try to intimidate you. I had one of them, which was a bigger guy, and he seemed like a supervisor or manager, putting his hands on my shoulder. I think that's part of the video I have.
Oh, awesome.
So it was getting pretty aggressive, but I stood my ground.
I'd be like, while you're there, could you work out this knot from my camera bag?
I should have thought of that because I have those knots all over my body. So that would have helped.
Yeah, I would have creeped him out. It's my tactic.
Let's take a look at a few more pictures. I flipped through and loved this one, and then I saw who took it. It's Gisele Duprey. She's just one of my favorite street photographers. And what about this shot? I love the eye contact here from the kids and the way it goes back over here.
And then that little creeper in the corner.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is perfectly on point on our topic, right?
I think so. I definitely think so, with composition and kind of humor and cleverness. I love the balance of the two sides. But she does good work. She threatened me with accusing me of bad taste if I didn't say anything nice about it, though.
Yeah, she also threatened me. So this is a very biased review of her work.
But luckily I do like it.
Awesome shot, Gisele. Oh man, I kind of want to. It feels washed out, right? Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay. I love the moment, but yeah, there's something.
That the kid in the background directly behind the girl on the right is really throwing it off for me. And yeah, I think the tones don't work to the strengths of the moment.
Yeah.
That looks better, just that.
Yeah, it looked better.
Oh, I like this one. What are you thinking, Jonathan?
This just gets me going. I love it.
I love
the story. Yeah, the story. I'm all about a narrative and a story in street photography because I think all too often there are just too many photos nowadays that don't have a story. That forget about that part. So the story here is just so fantastic. And I like that what's coming out of the trash can is a good juxtaposition as well, kind of a bee story.
Oh, yeah, you're right. A bee story. I like that, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love it. I really do. Sexual tension always works.
Awesome shot, Eric.
You're making such a good point that this is a story. And so often when we tell people we want a story in their photos, they don't know what we mean. Yeah. And so in your mind, what is the story here?
I'll try to.
That's a really big question, right? But clearly there's a deeper story. You have this beautiful woman, and then on the truck, he's like making eye contact with her, but he's not. So
yeah. What I see, and it's weird how your mind kind of subconsciously throws this all together in the moment. I see the bar in the background, so I kind of get like a flirtatious vibe. Like a day out at the bar grabbing drinks, and they see each other across the room, and she's into it, obviously. So
she's into it.
I like it. Good tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta give that a pick.
Yeah, I
don't know what we do with those, but
nothing
I like
now.
to do it.
I love this one.
Yeah, it's
I
cool.
really do. It's hard to get a puddle shot that doesn't drive people nuts because you see so many puddle shots.
Yeah.
But the colors, well done. Of course, the movement of the subject. I think it's great.
I do too.
Jonathan, do you ever stage shots?
No,
Never?
no.
Okay.
I get asked that a lot, which I love because I work so hard on the photos, especially in my Coincidences series. As I said earlier, I work so hard on them. So when people ask me if they're staged or anything like that, I think that means that my work paid off. If they look that good, so
Yeah, and I wouldn't feel bad if you said that sometimes they were staged, because we've studied some of the best photographers in the world doing
yeah.
what you might call
I don't
documentary photography, and so many of the most amazing documentary shots were just completely staged.
That's controversial.
It is controversial, but it still
It is.
manages to tell a story, and it still became a timeless photo.
Yeah, I have nothing against that at all, and that's even just being okay with it is controversial. I think you have a little more leeway in street photography than you do in documentary, but I think staging is fine.
Yeah, I don't discriminate, but I do respect you taking the time to wait for a genuine moment more. And I
you.
actually feel that it shows.
Oh, good.
I think
Good.
something comes through in a genuine moment that can't be staged.
I agree. I think that series of work would not be the same if it were staged or designed by me. So I'm happy that you said that. Thank you.
I think that's something a lot of people don't get. It's not just the image that you produce, the bits and the bytes. It is the background of the story, how it was made. And that's especially true if you ever get into fine art, if you want to sell fine art books or prints or something. Like, people care about the artist and the process.
Absolutely. I'm working on my book for next year, and that is a big part of what the publishers want to get across, to just give that extra dimension to the experience for the reader. So that I agree. It's important to include that aspect of the work.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your book. Will you come back and
Me too.
tell us about
I'd
it?
love to.
Okay.
Awesome. Here's a shot from Leroy Skalstad. A very close and intimate shot. Lots of contrast. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I freaking story again. Story punches me right in the face, which I'm totally into. It's just so it's great. It's like I would say it's timeless, but it almost makes me feel like it's the 70s. I think it's fantastic. The mood.
I got the same vibe. Like, is this photo from the 80s or something?
Yeah.
Well, either it's got a fake border or it was scanned, right? Like, look
It
at
looks like film.
Yeah, it looks like film. I agree.
I like it a lot.
Maybe it is from the 80s.
Yeah, I think I even saw like a couple of scratches in the film, which can happen on the
Cool.
machinery sometimes.
I think it's fantastic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's an awesome shot. You got to pick right away. And this one definitely reminds me of your style.
I like it. I like it a lot. And thank you. That's great. The minimalism, the geometry, the subject is perfect. His skewed shadow is interesting and creates some visual tension. I think there's maybe a little bit too much negative space.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. So yeah, if it was cropped in a little more, I think it would be fantastic, even more fantastic.
Maybe we
actually.
could go 8 by 10. What do you think? Or keep the original?
So what level of post-processing do you do, Jonathan? It sounds like you crop.
Oh yeah. I crop a lot, and it's starting to become a problem because the Leica Q is fixed and the Fuji F is fixed. So it's I need to start using longer lenses because I'm selling more and more prints now, and if I need to crop, they don't blow up so well.
Yeah.
So I do crop, and it's so weird. That seems controversial too, even in the street photography community. Cropping is considered a sin, but to hell with it. I think it's great.
Really?
Is that where you draw the line, or do you sometimes
Oh,
publish in
no.
black and white, like you'll desaturate?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay. Contrast and
As long as the real authentic story is not altered, I don't think there's any limit. but I usually don't need to do anything. The colors that come out of both cameras that I mentioned that I use are just so good, so I don't really have to alter the colors. I think cropping is probably the most extensive thing that I'll do. I will boost shadows sometimes, or yeah, so nothing extensive, but I'm not against any of that either.
Sebastian Petit here. I don't know. There's something that strikes me about the arrangement, the kind of angle and yet the vertical lines, the angled lines of the ladders. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is a neat juxtaposition with everything in the center as well, especially the subject.
Mm-hmm.
There's all that tension with those angles, as you said, and then she is perfectly balanced in the middle. I think it has a lot of interest.
I do too.
Well, why don't we take a question or two from Sam,
Okay.
and then we'll take a look at a Squarespace portfolio.
Sam, how are you doing over there? You have any questions or comments?
Lots of questions for Jonathan. All right, let me scroll back up here. So the first one is from Gisele. And Gisele would like to know, Jonathan, who is your favorite New York City street photographer? And you guys are going to have to tell me once he answers the question because I can't hear him. Oh. So I can ask the next one.
Chelsea, am I going to get in trouble if I don't say Gisele, even though I love her work?
Well, let's just say
other than Gisele.
Already,
of course it's Gisele.
Of course it's Gisele, but who else?
Yeah, I do love Gisele's work. Okay, so to make this easier, let's go with maybe someone published or who's been around a lot, an icon. I think my favorite New York photographer would be Winogrand.
Uh-huh.
And I want to see there's a documentary about him. Yeah, that I'm dying. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really influenced by his work as far as New York City goes. So Winogrand, final answer. No lifeline needed.
I like that. I'm a big fan of his work as well. The answer was Winogrand, Sam, and you can move on to the next question.
Okay, thanks. Ian Wright would like to know, Jonathan, is it better to find the background and wait or hunt for your subject?
Both, I think. I typically find these scenes, these backgrounds, whatever they are, when I'm doing a traditional photo walk. So I will, as I said, just walk around the city, shooting whatever catches my interest, including portraits, whatever. And then I'll stumble upon a background that I think could make an interesting story. Once that happens, then I plant my feet and wait there as long as it takes or until the thing disappears, which happens a lot in New York. So both of them work.
Oh, Sam, he's done.
Well, why don't we'll take a look at a Squarespace portfolio, and then I'm going to ask Jonathan what like his number one street photography tip is.
Okay. Sorry, Justin, is there like sound playing over there? I hear me playing back.
Maybe it's in your headset? I don't hear it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
This portfolio definitely caught my eye. It's broken it into different categories, and I don't know, all these thumbnails are really interesting, nice square thumbnails, but let's take a look at street because our topic.
It's on topic. Ooh.
Who is this? I can't see the name.
Well, that is a good question. TGH photo, and yeah, there's this text here which seems meaningful, but you can't really read it. And I guess as far as us reviewing his portfolio, or his or her, I don't even know at this point. Okay, well, first we would want to know something about you. There doesn't seem to be an about page.
It's right here.
Oh, about me. Okay. I was looking for a menu, and I'm confused that there's just one menu item work. So I would get rid of that or put in. I would just basically make 4 menu items for each of the different main categories that you have. So his name is Adam Hansen.
Here we go.
Yeah, so make each of these a menu item up here. And street landscape architecture, pretty broad categories.
Yeah, I might separate those out.
Oh, okay. There's a lot going on in this photo.
This scrolling format is tough for you because you have some of them are not filling the screen properly. So I might look at a different format. It's really easy to change in Squarespace. You can try it out first to make sure everything looks right. And then once you're completely set, you can just change the template. I love the colors in that one.
Yeah, I feel like this portraiture is pretty solid work.
Yeah, this is stronger than the previous group of photos.
I would take out this baby. The baby's adorable, but she's not in focus.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit with the rest of the...
No.
Yeah, this one doesn't seem to fit either, especially as portraiture goes. It seems like it's a...
So people will judge you by your least impressive photo. So only put in the best of the best.
Oh, well, this can just go in the portraiture section. It's really handsome. Yeah, I think my tip is going to be to combine all these into one category and just have the people visiting your site land on the page with your best pictures. So pick your best portraiture pictures, pick out a couple of your landscape and architecture pictures, and maybe of these pictures, I think, well, that's a really good bird picture.
Aww.
A couple of these are really good, and I like that dog.
Bias though.
So I would probably trim out half your pictures and put the rest into one category. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. I think there are some photos that aren't cohesive. You definitely are showing photos that are really strong, kind of mixed in with photos that don't rise to that level. I would take a stricter editor's eye to this work. So I agree with Tony. I think you can trim it down to some really impressive work.
Yeah. He had beautiful photos in there.
Yeah.
The portraiture was my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
Here's what Adam had to say about Squarespace. Squarespace is such an easy tool to use. I've danced between a few different layouts before finding the perfect one that I liked. It's super easy to use, and I couldn't be happier choosing Squarespace. Thank you. We don't screen those ahead of time. Like, nobody's ever said that they hated Squarespace, because Squarespace is really good stuff.
It's easy.
If you want your own Squarespace portfolio, everybody seems to like it. You can try it for free. Go to squarespace.com/Tony. Use the coupon code Tony to get 10% off after your 14-day free trial. No credit card required. Thank you for sponsoring us, Squarespace.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
What do you think is your number one tip to new street photographers, people just coming into it?
Are you guys ready for it?
Maybe.
Are you ready for the big guns?
I'm ready.
No, I think it's a good segue from what we just suggested for Adam. I think the hardest thing to do, especially with social media and the Instagram pressure, is you have to kill your babies. You have to be your own hardest critic. You have to really only edit down to your best work, your strongest work. I think that's the number one thing I notice with new street shooters, and even some who've been around for a while. I see people who feel the pressure to post multiple times a day, and then that kind of forces them to to post a lot of work that they otherwise might not want associated with their portfolio. So I really think editing is probably the number one talent or skill that you should develop as a street photographer.
That's a really great tip. And you do make a good point about posting regularly versus posting really quality content. And that's something I'm guilty of, is just getting something up. And then sometimes I go through and I think, why did I post that piece of junk photo?
Instagram shame.
Yeah, Instagram shame.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, it
I
is.
repost too much because I notice when I don't post once a day, I notice in my engagement numbers that it does dip because of that. So instead of posting work that I'm not super proud of, just to get the engagement up, I repost things from. It has to be not posted in the past 3 months, but I repost a bit.
That's a good strategy, I think.
Yeah, you have to keep a balance. I know I've angered a lot of people, but it's better than showing some crappy work.
Honestly, if that makes someone angry, that's their issue, Jonathan. We don't have to deal with them.
Thank you. Send me the therapy invoice after this.
Do you have someone that you go to that you trust and you say, hey, is this photo What are you feeling from this? Is this good, or am I just emotionally attached to the moment? That type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great way to describe it too, especially in street photography when you're out and hunting for these scenes and these moments. You can, oh, and especially with what I do, which is plant my feet and wait around, you become emotionally invested in these scenes, no matter what comes of it. So you do have to disconnect emotionally from your experience of making the photography. I am very fortunate. There is a great group here in New York called the New York City Street Photographers Collective. It's fantastic. We meet once a month and have several channels on social media, private channels, where we give each other feedback and honest critiques. It's been a wonderful resource. So I use this collective, my friends, to bounce work off of. And we're actually showing right now at Photoville in Brooklyn. We have our own container. So it's a
Oh,
great
wow.
time to see them and the kind of work that we come up with together.
Is that in the Dumbo area?
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you ever been?
No, but I saw someone posted pictures. It's all in shipping containers.
Yeah.
It looks
All
so
outside in
cool.
the Brooklyn Bridge Park. It's the coolest photography event I've ever been to. You guys should
I
come.
want
Come
to go.
on.
How
Yeah,
long is it
definitely.
running for?
It goes for 2 weeks every September.
Okay. I think we might have to make a trip out there then.
Yeah.
That's a good tip, though. So, self-editing, everyone, learn how to at least ask for good advice if you can't see clearly, and learn to emotionally detach from your photos so that you can judge them impartially. I get too emotionally attached to photos, Jonathan.
You do? How do you deal with that?
I asked Tony, but then he's too nice.
Yeah, I ask my husband too, and he's too nice, so I totally get it. So then what do you do?
I'll put stuff
um,
up on Instagram, and if it doesn't get a reaction, then I know those people are objective.
yeah, and I have other people that I'll ask too, and then I'll
Good.
kind of just feel out. Everybody's kind of nice. I'll kind of be like, oh, they didn't have a big reaction, so they probably meant that it was just kind of mediocre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can gauge what the subtext of whatever they're saying is. I think it's important that you when you're doing this, when you're asking for feedback, that it's from people you trust. Obviously, when I was first shooting street photography and I didn't know a lot of people very well, I would bounce my photos off of them, and I feel like a lot of their critiques came from places of insecurity or I don't know, jealousy or things like that, which is hard to distinguish from the critique. So I think it's important that you trust whoever you're going to get feedback from, but then go for it and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. Some people can have tall poppy syndrome. They might feel like you like your work too much, so then they try to cut you down, and that's just not constructive.
Tall poppy. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
It's when someone thinks that maybe you're getting a little too big for your britches, maybe have too much self-esteem, or have garnered too much attention, and then they feel they have to be the one to
So
bring you
cut
back.
down that poppy. They
Yeah.
want to cut down.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it's an Australian term, but as soon as I heard it and looked it up, I was like, I love this term and I'm going to use it
I
all the
do
time.
too. I'm going to steal it. I'll give you credit though, Chelsea.
It's not mine to steal, so I think it's just you can take it.
It's out there.
All right, let's take a look at some photos. This is
Creative
from
Commons.
Johnny Armau. And I don't know, I love it. I love all the different size, the colors and doors. And I think just the scene itself is interesting, but then you have this man walking through.
I agree. The colors work so well together. Great palette, great color story. I don't. I at first didn't like the subject placement, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know where it would have been better because had it been a few steps later or earlier, he would have blended into the wall. So maybe the subject placement is fine. Maybe it's his the the angle of his legs that I'm not feeling. That kind of throw me off, but that's only if I'm being super picky about it.
Do you ever shoot continuous or do you just do one shot?
I shoot mostly continuous,
Yeah.
especially to get these moments that look staged that are so perfectly captured. I do shoot continuous machine gun style, and I wish I could shoot my kind of work with film, but you can't do machine gun style with film really. So I don't do that. But that's another thing in street photography that I get a lot of blowback for is apparently you're not supposed to shoot continuously, but I do it.
Who makes these rules?
Right?
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know.
Why are people trying to limit our lives like this? Like, just let us be.
To feel better. And of course, I love this.
Yeah, I love the colors, the color contrast. I love the subject matter.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The pink sticking out against the blue and the grays and that rainbow sidewalk. And of
Yeah.
course, I want to hang out with them all day long.
They're probably a good time.
Yeah, so they like are just getting off of their drag show at 6 a.m. and carrying all their costumes home and smiling about it, having a
Yeah,
great
they're
time.
having a great time.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the background is a little bit busy, but um,
Their outfits are kind of keeping it from being too busy around them, though, which is
mhm,
nice.
I agree. They're busier than the background, so they win
That's
out
true.
in that fight.
Yeah,
So yeah,
maybe.
I like it.
What if it was shot with like a fast prime that could kick the background a little bit out of focus? And it sounds like you manually focus everything, right? So you don't get the option to like precisely focus and blur the background.
Exactly. Yeah, I zone focus. And for people who don't know what that is, I basically leave the aperture at 5.6 to 8, and then put my manual focus right on about 2 meters. So everything from about a meter and a half almost to infinity is in focus. That way I can just click immediately and have the picture taken. So I don't use shallow depth of field a lot because of that. It's so hard to get a critical moment that way. But autofocus capabilities are catching up a lot. So hopefully one day I can get some of my coincidence works with uh, shallower depth of field. That would be cool.
All right,
I'm kind of flipping through looking for something that really catches my eye, and
Yeah.
um, street photography is so hard. That's
that's not
just
street
straight up a
photography.
portrait.
Mhm.
And I think what would catch my eye was a compelling story, and this one definitely made me stop. I mean, it's been rotated 90 degrees.
I like that. I usually don't like this kind of a thing where they purposefully change the angle of the photo, but I think it works here. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It caught my eye too. Ooh, this one's very, very busy.
Yeah, if I had to tell the story, I wouldn't know what it was. Like, oh, there's just a lot of people and a bored person is kind of the foreground.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, she does stick out with the contrast of the background and the lighting around her. So at least the subject sticks out. But um, I I agree. My eyes are kind of going manic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting like anxiety.
Mm,
It's a lot of people.
a lot
Wait,
of portraiture.
yeah.
Is this something that caught your eye, Charles?
Um, ooh, that was interesting. Wow, so that's like street portraiture, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's
That's
beautiful.
definitely street portraiture, which is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it does make me think of like streets of New York. But that's
Yeah,
not a style you
Humans of New
do,
York.
Yeah,
right?
Humans of New York.
Oh,
Yeah.
human. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. But you do interact and say, "Hey, can I take your picture?" Or is it all strictly candid?
For this kind of a thing, I would think that the artists here did interact. It looks like it. I don't really do street portraiture. I started out doing that, and I did ask people if it was okay. I think people probably should ask subjects if it's cool if they take their picture,
Hmm.
and even go a step further. And maybe have a Polaroid camera or a Fuji Instax camera, and offer them an instant film shot. Maybe I think that's the right thing to do. But
Yeah.
uh, I don't know.
I like to tell people while I'm taking their picture too. Like I'll say, "Your outfit looks so beautiful against this background. Can I take your picture?" And usually people are like, "Yeah, I look
That
great."
helps for
Yeah.
sure. I think for guys it might be a little harder, especially when you want to take pictures of a cool woman. Um, I get away with it because when I was doing street portraiture, I could say that I really like your dress, and I get away with it probably because of my voice and mannerisms. But I
Yeah.
know that it's harder.
What do you say to people that are so nervous about taking street photography? because that's what I hear
So
a lot.
what? I'm sorry.
What advice would you give people that are very nervous about going out and taking pictures of strangers? Because I hear people say, I'd like to try street photography, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, that's a common one. And I think no street photographer I know, including myself, isn't nervous about it. Um, at some point, I guess it just varies in the level of anxiety that we get. But what I would say is, uh, especially in a city like New York, if you're doing it in a busier city, 99% of the time, the people around you don't have any idea or care what you're doing. You're the only one who's going to really notice um, or be freaked out by what you're doing. So I would calm down about that part. No one's going to know, and when they do know, you just act cool and be civil, and it usually calms down and evens out the scene. But also, I would actually suggest um, exposure therapy. I would suggest going out and asking strangers on the street to take their picture. Do it several times, maybe a dozen times. And I think that it's kind of like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I think that once you try that and see that no one bites or no one's going to um, get in a fight with you, you'll get some no's. You will get people who say no, thank you, but nothing terrible is going to happen. So I think if you do have a fear that is preventing you from following a dream of shooting the streets, go out, tackle it head on, ask some strangers, talk to them. You'll find out that they are people too, and the world is not going to end if someone doesn't want you to take their picture.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think exposure therapy is such a good way to go about it. You just have to jump in and try it.
Dive in.
Yeah, and I think the energy you bring to it is like people reflect that back at you. If you were nervous, you're going to seem shady. But if you're just comfortable and having a good time, I think they're like, oh, that person's just having fun taking pictures.
Yes, I agree. If I'm having a bad day, it does come across not only in probably the energy that I'm putting out, but in the photos that I bring home then. So I usually can tell if I'm having an off day, then I stay in and edit or catch up on emails or something. So it is about having a good positive energy.
Yeah, that's a cool thing about street photography is a lot of yourself is in the picture because you're putting energy out to everyone around you.
Yeah,
That's
that's beautiful. That's why I like it so much.
yeah. I wonder if that's why Bill Cunningham got so many cool shots because he was just such a like gentle man. I think he was very unarming.
What a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Man, and speaking of Photoville, the first time I went to Photoville, they did a retrospective, a huge celebration of him, and it was just so beautiful.
That is
I'm glad
fun.
that you like him. That's great.
I like him.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
the
I
best.
just like his personality too. He seemed like he was a
Yeah.
nice guy.
Let's take a look at a couple more photos. This is from Chris Geelan. And I like that Chris got out there in the bad weather, especially rain, makes the streets look so much more interesting, being so reflective. What do you think, Jonathan?
Absolutely. I love bad weather photos. I love them. I think the background is also here a bit busy with the veins of the umbrella and then the window panes and that stuff, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But the subjects are nicely outlined themselves, and the highlights are so blown that the subjects stick out even more. So I think you got what you wanted out of this photo.
Let's see if anything else catches their eye, and then we'll see if Sam has a question for you.
Oh yeah, Sam, do you have any questions or comments? Sorry, we've been neglecting you a little bit.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yes, so many questions are coming in. Before
Nighttime
I go
Billy.
into the question, I'll give you a really nice comment that came through. Somebody by the name of Maz said, loving this episode. I can't even get up to go to the kitchen because I don't want to miss anything or even press pause. They're enjoying the show.
Good.
Thank you. I don't starve,
Kyle
though.
Wolf had a good question. What are your thoughts on using flash in street photography? Too obtrusive? If not, how would you vary your approach to minimize any misunderstandings?
That's a great question. Flash is fantastic. There are so many great artists that are using Flash in street now and have been. Bruce Gilden, of course, I think really popularized it decades ago, even though it was being used before then. I don't think it's too obtrusive unless you're trying to get a reaction out of people for the photo, an angry reaction by flashing them in their face. And then I mean, that just gives me a negative vibe, but you do you. Otherwise, I think the use of Flash can be really artistic, and I think you should use it creatively since it's being used so often right now. I think if you want to stick out from the rest of the Flash street shooters, think of a neat way to use it to show off your artistic vision. I definitely would like to see fresh takes on Flash street photography. And the second part of the question, was it about diffusing tension?
Sam, was the second part of the question about diffusing tension? Hello? I can't hear you, Sam.
Uh-oh.
I think she's just muted.
Okay, no, there we go. Yes, I believe it was. I already deleted it, but I'm pretty sure that's that's what it was.
Yeah, no problem. Diffusing tension is a really good skill to have in your back pocket when you go into street photography. As I said earlier, 99% of the time, no one's going to notice or care if they do notice that you're photographing them. But when they do, I think it's important to be respectful and think about how you would feel if a stranger was taking a photograph of you, using you for their art. So I would be respectful and kind, but also stand your ground. When I go out in public, especially in New York, I have every expectation that I'm being filmed and photographed everywhere by people, by anything. And so I think if you are in public in a busy city, just expect to be on film somewhere. So stand your ground as a street photographer. If you're in the United States, you do have a right to photograph anything in public. I'm not a lawyer, so this isn't legit legal advice, but so stand your ground while being respectful, I think is the best way to proceed if a confrontation does occur.
Yeah, I think that's solid advice. And I also think you have to realize that so many people don't understand why we're taking pictures because they don't think about photography at all. So it seems suspicious to them. It's sometimes just saying, oh, I'm a photographer and I like street photography and I thought, this light was nice. Sometimes people just say, oh, okay, well, let's move on then,
Sometimes
That is
they'll
so
say,
true.
if you say
I
you're
always
studying
forget to do
photography, that can help.
I need to add that to my repertoire.
Oh, you're going to add that? Oh.
I'll credit you on that too.
You'll be like, Chelsea told me to tell you that.
Really spreading the Chelsea word. Here's a photo from Sam.
Yeah,
Samuel.
I love this shot. I was a judge.
I just heard my name, but I didn't hear what you said, Tony.
Oh, different Sam. Samuel.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was a judge last year for the World Street Photography Awards, and I think I did the juxtaposition category, and I'm pretty sure this was an entry in it, and I'm pretty sure I selected it as the runner-up or something. I think it's great. I really do. The placement is wonderful. The colors are great. There are a few things that I would change. You can't change the fact that her left foot is in mid-air between a step, which throws me off a little bit. So you can't change that. That would have screwed up the alignment. I don't really like the woman on the right who is in a darker outfit and she kind of steals a bit of the show. So I might have cropped her out of it. I think that would have been fine. But other than that, I think it's great. Oh, also, a lot of people hate cell phones in street photography. I don't care because they're a part of modern life, and I think it's wonderful that it looks like the butterfly is trying to steal her phone.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm actually just going to do a really weird orientation just so we can see the rest of the...
Do it. What do you guys think about smartphones in street photography?
I think if it's a part of a story, I like it.
This is one of the few times where I think it totally works because it does seem to be telling part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if it's a photo that doesn't stand on its own merit and there is a cell phone in it, it's not going to work. But I don't know. I don't think you should avoid taking a shot if someone's on their phone
Yeah.
and it's a good shot.
Me either. Wait, I think something caught my eye up here, Tony.
Okay. What did
this
you
is
see?
very similar to the other one that we liked.
Right. These trucks.
Man,
I love shooting trucks in New York. Oh my gosh. In New York, I have a photo of a shark and a pigeon. The shark is on a truck, kind of like this. And I stalked this truck for weeks around Midtown.
How did
it's
you
so
do that?
embarrassing. I
How
probably
did you do
shouldn't.
that?
I'll get on a list with the authorities now. But anyway, I found out what business it was, and I kind of figured out their daytime routes for delivery.
I
So I
love
stopped
you.
this
I have
truck around
never heard of
Midtown
this
and
before
finally
as a
got
street
shot.
photo tip. Just master stalker. Are you like a PI on the side?
Yes, he is.
I'm learning unofficially. Yeah, I have a side business as an investigator. And the driver, it was mostly the same driver there. I hate that I know this. There were two different drivers for this company. And it was mostly the same dude, and he was not happy with me.
Yeah, well, he was also having marital problems, you know. It seemed like his wife was sleeping around, and I'm just
How to
joking.
make me feel better. So it wasn't me. I was projecting.
No, I
I
think
like
Tony's
this
saying
one,
he thought
though.
you were a PI or something. Like he's like, why am I
Oh,
being followed?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what went through my head. I thought maybe he was wondering if I was like FBI or something.
Yeah.
But I'm not that cool. I like
You
this,
sound
though.
really cool, though. I like that. I like that ability.
Well, it's
Yeah.
about time for us to head out. Maybe we should toss it back to
Oh, we're having so
Sam
much
and then see.
fun.
Serious.
Okay, let's take one last question from Sam.
Oh, just one. Okay.
Okay, or two.
Okay. All right. Because we have so many here. I'm not sure if this was already answered. If it was, just let me know and I'll skip to the next one. Mark Osborne would like to know, Jonathan, do you scout locations in advance and do you keep a list of the good ones?
Well, let's.
I do, for the most part. 90% of my work I have scouted. I have found the scene, like in particular the one behind Tony and Chelsea right now. I found this scene in Times Square while I was on traditional photo walks. So I found it and then I returned to it and worked the hell out of it for about a month. So I do scout,
Wow.
but the other 10% of the time, which is my favorite, I just stumble upon it as it is unfolding. And I love that, of course. But mostly I scout, keep my eye out when I'm out shooting otherwise.
I love your pictures so much. What else do you have for us, Sam?
Okay. I have two good questions here. Maybe we have time for both of them. Norbert Palsa would like to know, have you ever tried doing street photography with anything longer than a 200 millimeter lens?
No, I haven't even tried it. I haven't even shot street with a lens longer than 70. I think 70 is the longest I've gone. I'm a wide angle kind of boy. I'm a 28 millimeter kind of a person. I see the world now in 28 millimeter because I've been using it so long. That is my comfort zone. I said earlier in the show, I'm trying to break out of that and use a longer lens. So I think 70 is the longest I've ever used. I wouldn't even know how to use 100, let alone a 200. I think you could get something really fresh and interesting with a longer lens like that. I don't know anyone who uses that kind of a thing. So I think you could get something neat and unique out of that. I do think you run the risk with these huge lenses of looking like paparazzi and freaking people out. So I would just be aware of that. I say go for a super long lens and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun to see what would come of that.
Yeah.
Didn't you said you had one more, Sam?
Sure. Well, there's lots more, but this one is interesting, and I think people would be interested in hearing the answer to this. Kit Griffin would like to know, Jonathan, what is your method of culling hundreds of images, and do you cull and rate with stars, etc., just one time per day or more?
That's great. As I said earlier, I really genuinely feel like editing is the most important skill to tackle in street photography since you come home with so many. So I call images very hardcore. I am super strict about it. And it took me years to develop an ability to really take myself out of the picture and call my images. I use a SAR system in Lightroom. I probably every few days will go through the images I've shot. in the past several days, go through all hundreds of them usually and flag them, and then get rid of the flagged ones, and then rate the others, and slowly over, I'd say about a month, figure out which ones are keepers and which ones will move on to my portfolio or to my project. I try not to edit or call images right after I get home from a shoot, because I'm still too in the moment, too emotionally connected to it. So I want to give it at least a day before I go through them and figure it out. And then conversely, I like to return maybe 6 months later. I like to return to my selected images and look at the ones that I didn't pick for a portfolio or a project. And there have been several times that seeing them with fresh eyes that I've decided that I made a bad decision or just the incorrect one at the time, and they've done really well. So that's a great skill. Call your photos.
That is a really great skill. And I like your tip about going back several months later and looking at your work, because once you get that detachment, you can see so clearly.
Exactly.
I love that. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you come back.
I had so much fun. Thank
I had
you.
fun
Yeah,
too.
you taught us so much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys doing this with me too. I really had fun. I hope everyone out there had fun watching us and maybe learned something.
I think so. You had
Fun.
great tips.
Thank you. And if anyone comes to New York, say hi to me. If you see me on the streets, I'm always out there. Don't be afraid. I won't bite or there will be no confrontation with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Will do.
Everyone, you should check out Jonathan. We can pull up his Instagram and his other websites here, so you can support him by following him, and also support yourself by looking at great work and learning from it. And if you'd like to show off your own great work, get a Squarespace portfolio. You can get a free 14-day trial. Even if you don't end up buying it, it's a great way to see your work as a collection and see what you'd like to work on or what you're doing really well at. So go to squarespace.com/Tony. And if you decide like you buy your free trial, use the coupon code Tony to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace.
Chelsea
And
crushing those transitions, man.
I know. I
You're a
mean,
pro.
considering the jet lag, I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys, as always.
And enjoy your date.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
have
Sheldon
fun.
too.
Did he come by yet? Because I think everybody wants to meet him.
Did he get that bone?
Did Sheldon get the bone?
Oh, yeah, I think I hear him.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you all next week. The topic is fashion photography with Benjamin Kanarick. It's going to be a good one. Bye.
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 That is all.
Is that whiskey?